So morning everyone, I just graduated from my A-levels last year and I got 85 RP and so I know you all are very stressed and it's really not easy, right? Okay, but then so I'll share with you all some of the stuff I did to sort of get there in A-levels. So there's 5 very important things that you all need to follow at all times, okay? So first is the mindset. You need to really want that A, okay? So when you wake up every day, you need to tell yourself that you're going to do whatever you have to do to get to where you want to be. So for example, right, if you sort of find something difficult in whatever you're studying, right, you cannot just accept it. Okay, like, because I know a lot of my friends, right, whenever they don't know something, they will just like sort of be like, okay, I'm going to give up on this and hope everything else like lifts me up, right? Which is a really dangerous thing to do, because in an exam, right, one is like the subjects that you all, like the topics that you all know, right, the questions can be very hard, or like majority of the paper can be the stuff you didn't learn, and then you're screwed up. So just make sure that no matter what happens, right, even if you're not good at it, you don't have to like it, you just have to be good at it. So like for example, there was this stats topic, right, P and C. Yeah, I really sucked at it. Yeah, so you just spend one Saturday, right, just sit down. Right, I remember waiting. I woke up at 7:30 a.m. I sat down at 8 a.m. and I did PNC for like actually the whole day. And then by the end of the day, it helps though. Like, you know, you can do the difficult questions. So that's what it's about. You know. Okay. So next is you need to find your own studying method. So whatever you learn in class, right, even in tuition, it's only for you to grow your understanding. It's not gonna get you an A. You know. So what you need to do is you need to go home and study on your own, to really grow that understanding and get that A-worthy knowledge, you know. So what you want to do, and when you study, right, you need to sort of find what works for you. So it's something to do with the visual learners and auditory learners or whatever. But it doesn't matter. Just find what works for you. Like for me, right, I felt like rewriting my notes would help, right? So I used to, like, every subject from my H2s, I just rewrote it. All of you here did chemistry. No. Okay, so there's this organic chemistry. So there's this very, very painful thing you have to do, which is like memorize pages worth of reagents and conditions. It's very sad. And most people can't, it doesn't work. You can't cram so much in. It's just not how it works. Okay. So what I did is I would just write this, I believe it was 5 pages long of just chemicals and and colors. It was, yeah. But when I wrote it, right, I realized it helps me remember, more of like muscle memory kind of thing. So then I did that for all my H2 subjects, formulas for maths, formulas for physics, you know. And then I realized that, okay, so now I have a notes to go around, right? But then I wanted to, like, on the go whenever I wanted to be handy, right? So I made it digital, you know, so I scanned everything. And then, okay, so then another thing you all need to take note is when you study, right, it's already very depressing to study. Okay, it's not nice. Like, you wake up in the morning, everyone plays, and then you sit down and read. It's kind of sad. So, like, get creative with your studying, you know. Like, sort of, like, you sort of want to have fun with the learning. So I sort of thought that if I surround myself with my study material, it will help me get in the zone, right? So what I did is I wrote all my notes on A4 pieces of paper and started sticking them to my wall and ceiling. And so whenever I walk into my room right now, I'm just surrounded with all my notes. And in the long run, it wasn't a good idea because now I can't stop but read. But it helped in nonetheless. So like when you're just sitting around, right, you will helplessly just look at it, and it really does help with remembering. So just find what works for you. And next, right, you need to have a vision, right? So you need a goal. A goal gives you a direction to move in, and that gives you the motivation that you need. So it doesn't have to exactly be your RP. It can be like a course you want to go to, as long as you sort of know what you want to do, right? I think that helps a lot. And okay, next is you need to have sort of competition. Right, but when I say competition, it cannot be like peers or whatnot, because there's a few problems with that. Firstly, you will only try and beat that one guy, right? So you're only gonna get as good as that one guy, right? So you're not really gonna like reach your full potential. So there's two people you need to be competing with. One is obviously yourself, because why not? Just make sure that every stage of your education, right, like the next exam, you are just better than yourself the previous exam. So it doesn't have to be a higher grade, because sometimes the paper is harder, grades will drop, right? Just make sure that as time progresses, your understanding increases. That's the most important thing. Like usually grades are very superficial, it's the understanding. And the next person you need to be competing with is your teachers. Okay, so it's you won't really be able to be better than your teachers. They've been studying this for too long. Okay, it's like yeah, like they probably like wake up and think of maths or something. I don't know. Okay, so what you have to do, right, is in class, at least when I was studying, right, in class I will like make it a point that every single question the teacher asks, I know the answer to instant immediately. You won't always know it, but like yeah, it helps. So a successful lesson for me is a lesson where I always know what to tell the teacher given she asks me a question or yeah. Right? And you can also try and see how quickly you can solve a question compared to your teachers. Yeah, that gives you a good push in lesson. And I personally feel that when you do this, right, it shows your enthusiasm in class and it helps your teacher get enthusiastic about teaching you also, right? Because let's break down a teacher's life, okay? Like me and my friends, we do this during our break time because nothing better to do. A teacher, right, teaches the same thing over and over again for years combined. I don't know how long, like 15 years?
18.
8, okay. So then really, and then like some students are very interested, some students just don't care, and yeah, it could get depressive. So yeah, maybe like just spice up the life of your teacher a little bit, right? Yeah. So and also, I feel like even then, right, like you must just know that you'll never really be better than your teachers. So don't get very like demoralized when it doesn't make sense. So just use them like as a benchmark for you to be. Okay. Lastly, balance. You need to study and study very hard, but you cannot only study. Like you'll burn out. It's not a very nice process. It's very painful actually. So you need to have something that you all do at the side, preferably not addictive, and something that can help you complement your study. So like okay, when last year, right, there's only the last 2 years, right, the only two things I'll devote my study time away from my study time, right, is sleep and exercise. Okay, so why, right? Okay, because sleep don't sleep too much. Okay? Later the brain will become mushy. Yeah, just like sleep 8 hours is about right, 6 to 8 hours. Like Elon Musk, right? He only sleeps for 6 hours, so you don't need more, you don't need less. So yeah, 6 hours is about right, 6 to 8. So it keeps your brain active. It really does help. If you are not sleeping well now, right, just sleep. Right, 6 to 8. Okay, is the magic number, and you realize your brain gets faster and you can remember more, right? And next is exercise. It's also very important. When you exercise, it just helps your brain become sharper. Like again, you will notice the difference if you are not doing it now. And no, I don't mean like you lift weights right now. That one it's fun. It's not gonna help though. Like do like cardio, get the blood flowing. Yes, I sat down for one day and saw this on Google. And then okay, so that's the 5 things, right? So you need to sort of have a vision, your competition, right? Take your competitions right, and you need to have a proper studying mindset. Yeah, and also balance. And if you follow these 5 things, right, you will get there. Like give it some time, right? You're JC2s now. Yeah, the runway is short, but it's not that short. You can start now, and you should be there just in time for 8 hours. Anyway, so then on a side note, right? Okay. I am a very strong believer in being humble and helping, right? So if you like always be ready to help others, right? And it also helps you because when you teach others, it grows your understanding. And let's face it, okay, so in certain subjects, right, the more questions you get exposed to, the better you become. But you as a person, right, as an individual, like there's only so many questions you can do, right? And you tend to miss out a few question types here and there. So when you help others, right, then you sort of see question types that they managed to find, like online, they managed to dig it out, but you wouldn't have found it. So it helps to help others. And next is you must always be like, no matter how good you become, right? Just be willing to learn more. Okay, because there's always more to learn. No one knows everything. It's just not how things work around here. So, and like, be confident to learn more. You know, like when you see like a new notes, right? Don't don't oh my god, I don't know what that is. You know, you should be more like, yeah, I will find out what it is. Like it's really like the way you think that changes whether you get good at something or not. And finally, you need to surround yourself with the right people. Because I felt like one major aspect to me working so hard, right, was actually my friends. Because I've seen people with friends, right, where if you don't need fun, right, they don't really hang out with you. You know. But then like in class, I will just keep studying. But then like you need the friends who can like strike the balance for you, right? Like who won't disturb you when you study, but also make sure you don't overstudy. Yeah. And okay, and there's another one. Do not underestimate the power of reflection. Okay. Success or failure, right? It's always important that you sit down and ask yourself, like, actually give yourself time to ask yourself what you did right and what you did wrong. Because even if you're successful, it doesn't mean you did everything right. It means you have still made a mistake. It's just that somehow you're lucky enough to walk away from it. And if you failed, it doesn't mean you did everything wrong. You still did some things right? So yeah, just like while you're traveling home, right, just give it a thought. It doesn't have to be that long, but yeah, just give yourself substantial time to think about what you have done. And yeah, it's just, that's all it is to it. It's just the way you think, the way you go about every day, you know, the small things that make a big difference, right? And the A-level system is not meant to let the smart people win. It's meant to let the hardworking and stubborn people who won't give up, yeah, they will win. And I'm really not that smart because, okay, so I don't want to say something, right? For my PSLE, I got a 195, right? And then for my O-levels, I got a 15 points. So really not that smart, right? I just managed to, as time progresses, I managed to find what works for me. It took me very long, but yeah. But just understand that your JC2s, your first exam is November, October, and like that, right? Yeah, very short time, but can still do a lot, you know. It's just about how you maximize your time that makes the difference. And yeah, you cannot write on yourself being smart or yourself being talented, you know. Like nothing is gonna come to you. You need to take it. As is for everything in life. So everything I just shared with you, I believe it goes for everything in life. Just work hard, have the right mindset. And yeah, all the best for your A-levels and all the best for your exams, right? And yeah, thank you.